On today's episode of Setting the Pace, Facci and I are going to be talking all things Pacer Center, and is there a problem? Did the front office really do a good enough job addressing this position in the offseason once Miles Turner left in free agency? We're going to talk about all that today, and if the Pacers should be looking to add another center, potentially via trade, that isn't a big name like a Bam or a Jaren Jackson. Could they bring in a smaller name that maybe makes more sense, or can this center group figure it out? We're going to discuss it all today on Setting the Pace.
This is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
Happy Friday, Pacer Nation. We did it. We're here. It's the end of the week. Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden, and joining me is the conductor of the Taelon Peter hype train. It is Michael J. Facci. Facci, how's it going?
Love me some Taelon Peter, really do. I mean, that guy, how could you not have a soft spot for Taelon Peter? I just feel like this is, this is the man that just, like I said, overcame the who to I need a little bit more of that. So when it comes to two-way players, this is someone that I'm going to be rooting for and hoping is with the Pacers for a while. And you never say never. Maybe he ends up finding his way into some regular season minutes at some point. Who knows?
Nobody loves a Peter more than Facci, but let's keep it moving here today. We're talking all things centers, and we're talking about concerns that we might have with this center rotation, because I would say through the first three preseason games, Facci, we have not seen a lot of great, promising stuff from the center rotation. And so one thing we didn't mention on yesterday's episode was at practice on Wednesday, there was a video, or there was at least a picture out there where you saw Jay Huff in the yellow jersey and James Wiseman in the blue jersey in the second unit, the second team with Obi Toppin. They usually wear the blue jerseys. So I'm kind of curious, maybe the Pacers are wanting to give James Wiseman a look with that second unit compared to Jay Huff, because Jay Huff, I think I mentioned this 2 episodes ago, I think that he had the worst performance of the preseason out of all the bigs with his showing against the Spurs.
He was the healthy big, and I think that this was a big opportunity. This is the hype was definitely real, and I don't think he lived up to it. We talked about it from 3-point land. There was nothing there to be encouraged about. He didn't make a three. The fouls were there. There was plenty of fouls, and sometimes just looked like he was in the wrong place, kind of just being a little bit clunky, and it's going to take some time, sure. Some of these other Pacers, you could say have been in the system for longer, okay, but James Wiseman played 5 minutes with the Pacers last year. I'm not going to say hey, he's seasoned with them, or Isaiah Jackson didn't play last year. So I feel like you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but at the same point, Jay Huff hasn't earned his spot. He needs to earn it. And I think right now nothing can be handed to anybody. This is free competition. And James Wiseman does deserve a shot with the backups, because we saw in preseason for the most part, playing with guys that are just not really NBA roster guys, let alone at least standard contract guys. So give James Wiseman an opportunity. We're not saying, hey, give him the starting role by any means, but make it a competition.
Well, and here's the thing too, you got to remember, it's a couple of things you got to remember. Number one, it's James Wiseman's been in this system for over a year now. Isaiah Jackson's been here obviously since he was drafted. Tony Bradley's been here longer than Jay Huff. So all three of those guys have a little bit more familiarity with the system and how it works compared to Jay Huff, as he's still trying to get acclimated with how this team likes to play, where you're supposed to be at. That's the big thing for me. The second big thing for me, you mentioned it, he hasn't made a three. And what does Jay Huff do better than any of these other three centers on this group? He hits 3-point shots, or he's supposed to, based on what his skill set is. And if he's not doing that, he's thinner in frame than the other three guys. What is the point of having him out there? I know that he might have some of that gravity that pulls defenders away, but are they really going to be that worried about Jay Huff if he's not making those threes? So I just think, you know what, if you want to go, Rick Carlilse talked about we could be one of the better rebounding teams that this group's had in a while. And if James Wiseman can be a part of that, he's a big old dude out there. I think he's been better at protecting the rim at times in this and grabbing rebounds in the short amount of time he's played. So, I'm excited to see it. I want to see James Wiseman get an opportunity, because it's really hard to evaluate somebody when you don't see them playing with guys that are going to be normally in the rotation.
It really is. It really is. I think that Jay Huff has been able to block shots. Like we said, we saw that consistently, but that's one aspect of his game. But yeah, we were promised threes. We saw the percentages. You're a 40% 3-point shooter. Come on, that's an elite skill set for, a big. But at the same point, hey, we want to see a little bit more, see him play with the starters a little bit more. I think that the centers had their times, their rotations. Like I think that Isaiah Jackson didn't look good with the starters. Sometimes Jay Huff didn't look good with the backups. Sometimes James Wiseman looked all right with guys that he won't be playing with. So it's hard to get a full read. I don't really know necessarily what exactly we're hoping to see in the final preseason game. I think it'd be cool if that Jay Huff three ball is falling, and I think you do want to see James Wiseman. Like we've seen that there is no extra range on his shot. He is who he is at this point. But for Isaiah Jackson, I'm sorry, but it's not going to take one preseason game of cutting down the fouls to say like, all right, there we go. Like here it is. At this point, I'm a little bit down on Isaiah Jackson and saying like I've mentally set to myself it's going to take time if it's really going to work out. Like this is not something where I see Isaiah Jackson just having like a really good first month of a first month of the season. It's going to take like a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there until he probably builds back to really like feeling 100% like himself.
Yeah, it's going to take time. And I think that's one thing we have to put in context. Like these guys really haven't played basketball at a full level in a long time. And so what is funny here, Facci, I put a tweet out yesterday that got 606 votes. And I said, what center has been the most impressive to you through 3 preseason games? Based on the fans' votes, 15% was Tony Bradley, 15% was Jay Huff. They tied at 15%.
That's not great.
We had a tie for who's been the best between Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman. And for some reason, Twitter is saying James Wiseman won the poll. So maybe there was like one extra vote that got him over Isaiah Jackson. I would disagree with what the fans are seeing. I think that for me, Tony Bradley, out of that 4, has been the best. But honestly, if we're really being transparent here, the best center so far with this team has been Obi Toppin.
Oh yes, definitely. And we've talked about, Obi being able to play small ball 5 is something we expect to see a bit more of. I think if you're looking from like a box score standpoint, like you could look at, James Wiseman and be like, well, like, I mean, hey, he had some moments like, look what he did like in this game, or he scored in double figures over here. But like, there's just, there's a little bit more to it. Like he went 4 of 4 from the field for 10 points and 5 boards against, the Thunder. But I also feel like there were some other performances where it's like, okay, against San Antonio, didn't look great. I think people like James Wiseman are rooting for James Wiseman, but I just don't think that anyone's really looked that good other than, like you said, like an Obi Toppin is just someone that it's like, give me Obi Toppin at the 5 ahead of anyone else. And I think that right now, if we're saying, I don't know, you're wrong, Tony Bradley looked the best, and it's just Tony Bradley, that's a problem right now. That's nothing to really be able to get excited about. It's just more of like he hasn't messed anything up, got in anyone's way, turned the ball over, let guys score on him. There's a lot more to the position than that, but Tony Bradley is more of your like super low ceiling type of guy, but like a low floor. Like you can put him in there, hey, give me 5 minutes.
Why you're going to be all make the ceiling so low for Tony Bradley? I mean, you said super low ceiling. Is it that low?
I mean, how high is the Tony Bradley?
I'm not saying it's that high, but I mean, could you just maybe take one of those lows off? I feel bad.
I'll take one low off out of respect for what I saw in the playoffs last year.
You didn't see that coming from Tony Bradley.
I will take one low off of that, but this is a guy that was out of the league. And when you look at this roster, I really hope that James Wiseman is not joining him, out of the league next year, because this is, we know that, the make or break year for James Wiseman. I want to see it. I still think there's some untapped potential in there. And I think that for a lot of these guys, that's kind of how it is. Jay Huff, this is like your big potential year. Isaiah Jackson has the potential, stepping into a bigger role. But the fact of the matter is these guys aren't that proven, and that's what we want to see. Prove it.
It's going to be hard to play Obi Toppin at the 5 a ton of minutes throughout the regular season. There's a lot of wear and tear on his body, but I wonder at some point if they're just going to like dive into it even more, because I mentioned this 2 episodes ago, Facci, and it's like, if you look at the Pacers' best rotation, right? You look at that starting 5 with Obi in the 5 spot there, like that's a pretty good 5. Now let's imagine TJ McConnell's back healthy with Shepherd and Jarris Walker. That's probably your next 3 out of the 10, right? You're not even including Isaiah Jackson yet. And then you got a guy like Johnny Furphy. I mean, no offense to Jay Huff or James Wiseman or anybody like that, but it's like, would I rather go small with Ijax as the backup 5 and Obi start at the 5 and have Jarris and Johnny and Shep out there with McConnell versus trying to play, the standard traditional big all the time? And I think it might be kind of like situational in terms of like what other teams put out there, but I would rather see the development of a Johnny Furphy getting actual reps at that 3 spot next to Shep and Walk versus, let's try to kind of force James Wiseman or force Jay Huff into this spot because we need size. I don't know. I think Isaiah Jackson will be fine as a backup. I think he could be a decent starter at some point this year. I'm just saying, to me, like, if you just maybe limit his role a little bit, even if he starts and then you bring Obi in, but Obi plays more minutes, I'm just saying that combination of 9 to 10 players to me is a better overall fit than trying to force some of these centers that kind of feel like they're on the back end of what you really want talent-wise.
I totally agree. Look, there's not an argument to be made. It's a fact. If you put Obi Toppin at the center, the Pacers starting 5, like with Obi in there as a center, that's their best 5. And we know that if you put in an Isaiah Jackson or a Jay Huff or whatever it is, it's probably not the best 5. It's just more of like a fit. And I'm looking on Basketball Reference right now, and Obi Toppin played about 36% of his minutes last year at the center spot. And I think that's something they could experiment more with. I know if it's 36%, it already feels like a lot, so it's hard to imagine that going up. But I do feel like that is something that we are going to see, and I'm excited for it. I really am. But going to your point before of Isaiah Jackson, like as a starter, like, yeah, he could potentially be a starter. We're going to learn that this year. We're going to learn if he's a starter material or not. But in my eyes, like, he's always been a backup. And at times he's been a good backup, but he's always had limitations. And you could say, well, that's because the Pacers have had more depth, in front of them. They've had Jalen Smith and Miles Turner before and players of that sort. But Isaiah Jackson has never been a high-minute guy. He's not someone that gives you 25 minutes a night or 22 or anything like this. If you look at his stats, which I got pulled up right now, the most minutes, I don't know if I can even count this, there's only 5 games, was 16.8 minutes per game. So he's typically, for his career, he's a 15 minutes per night guy. That makes me feel like taking on a bigger role, you were capping out at about 20 minutes a night, tops.
Did the Pacers make a mistake in letting Thomas Bryant go?
I'm happy that Thomas Bryant's still in the league because I felt like he was about to be out, and someone signed him. I don't know. It wasn't Milwaukee.
Cavaliers got him.
That's who it was. Cleveland. I knew he was in the division. I was happy that the Cavs got him. Thomas Bryant played well at times. I think more specifically early on, but like, I don't know. I mean, who would you rather have him over? Would you rather have him over Tony Bradley? I guess.
I know that he didn't play great in the playoffs, and
He
became unplayable at times, like especially against the Thunder. And I think it's a little bit of recency bias. The regular season was a hot mess, and when they traded for him, that's when they started winning. I know that they also got Nembhard back at that point, and Nesmith slowly came back and things like that, but they needed a stable backup big, and he provided that for the majority of the time that they were there. And how many times do you remember him coming in, having a big block, having a big rebound, giving you that just 10 to 12-minute burst of excitement, Yep. I think last year, if you're looking at what he did as a backup big behind Miles Turner, that would be a breath of fresh air. That'd be a bright spot compared to what we've seen so far through 3 preseason games. I think he would be at the top of the pecking order, and I think he could actually start over Isaiah Jackson if he were on the roster, just because, number one, he shoots threes, he rebounds the basketball, he fits the system well. I think the Pacers overthought this and got a little too cute once again.
I think they very well might have. And yeah, if you look back when they acquired Thomas Bryant, like right around that January span, he really was on fire. He was playing really good. It
was actually early December, Foch.
Was it? Okay, so right in that December, January span is really where he was like taking off, playing some of his best basketball. And the Pacers had a stretch where they were like 13-2 or something of that sort. I remember we had Tom Crean on. That was really like Thomas Bryant mania. Like that's when it was like that man could do no wrong. But I do feel like, yeah, maybe the Pacers did overthink it a little bit because like I just feel like you got Tony Bradley on that non-guaranteed contract. It looked like obviously Thomas Bryant is a minimum player, in this league contract value wise. And I feel like, we know James Wiseman is more of that potential-ish. He's younger, higher draft stock. They want to see him. I feel like this is something where, and higher draft stock is more of like, hey, once upon a time he was the number 2 overall pick. But yeah, Thomas Bryant played good minutes. He seems more like NBA ready. Like you could put him in there at any point, and he's probably going to be able to deliver. Where I feel like right now we don't know that about James Wiseman. Right now, Jay Huff, we'll see. I think that he'll be all right. He'll figure it out. But for Isaiah Jackson, like I just feel like we need to temper our expectations because he came back from this injury, and I have not seen it. I mentioned it. I haven't seen any growth offensively. I haven't seen it at all. None. And it's gonna take him a while to get his bounce back too.
Oh yeah, I mean you have 2 guys coming off these injuries. Like that to me is why I would not have signed James Wiseman back, even though he was in the building.
Bold move.
It's a bold move. It's like, okay, we're gonna tell Thomas Bryant, 2 things. We're trading for Jay Huff because I think they believe Jay Huff can be better than Thomas Bryant. That is why they made that move.
I don't blame them. I really do think that Jay
Everybody
Huff,
loves Jay Huff, but like
Yes.
the Memphis Grizzlies play such a different style than the Pacers.
Yeah, sure.
Like he looks like he's kind of slow out there sometimes. I thought I was going to be excited for the Jay Huff movement, and I'm like, okay, what are we going to see? Like the guy can't get out of his own way. He fouls all the time. And maybe he'll get better. Maybe it'll just take a month or so of just getting used to the system and figuring things out. And he obviously doesn't have like a Halliburton out there kind of leading the charge or a McConnell out there really directing him and setting him up. So I try to put all that into context before I just write a guy off. And also, you're talking about the way he played was his worst game against Wembanyama. So it's like, okay. And Luke Cornett. Like Luke Cornett, like say what you want about him, but like I said last
$40 million. He got $40 million.
He would be the starting center on the Pacers.
Absolutely. And we would be singing his praises.
We would love Luke Cornett.
Yes. We'd be some big Luke Cornett fans. Look, he's a very serviceable backup big in this league who, like I said, he got paid $40 million. So I think San Antonio's excited about that signing. And I think that, hey, he made some good contributions to Boston. But I mean, I remember we traded for Jay Huff. I deemed that National Jay Huff Day. I mean, there was hype. But yes, I'm not gonna drive the stake through this man's heart after 3 preseason games. Like, let's give him some time. There's gonna be some awesome times. There'll be some down times. But that's why you play about 82 games. At least in the regular season, depending on these in-season tournament games. Who knows anymore? But you got time to figure this out, and unless you're Pascal Siakam, everybody has some off nights here and there.
Well, I mean, or Ben Mathurin. I mean, Ben Mathurin's been pretty awesome this preseason. I'm just saying though, if I'm thinking in my head, like if I could have a center rotation of Isaiah Jackson, Thomas Bryant, and Jay Huff, I probably feel better about that than what I've got now, just because I just think that he does more of what the Pacers want at that spot, and he's got that chemistry and that familiarity. Like it's just bring him in for another year. Like what's it going to hurt to give him a minimum contract? Like the guy was almost out of the league, so it wouldn't have hurt anything. And maybe they shouldn't have given Isaiah Jackson as much money as they did. I know we talked about that when it first took place because we were kind of like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that much money. But then again, like who was paying him $6 million?
Nobody. Restricted free agency was a graveyard, and that's how it's been. And I remember Tony East was stunned because he was saying something like he's not even going to enter restricted free agency or whatever it was. I was like, he might. I mean, look, the Pacers got money to spend if Miles walks, and I think that's what happened. Miles walked. I think they said, you know what, like let's reward one of our own. Like let's show some loyalty over here.
We can't have somebody else walk.
Exactly. Like, all right, let's sign him. But like, I know I said this before with Obi Toppin when he was a restricted free agent. I'm like, why couldn't the Pacers could have just waited a match? And I just think that they could have just had a qualifying offer out to Isaiah Jackson. Maybe he's absolutely rubbed wrong by it, but you got a whole year to figure it out. I think in this scenario, like no one was going to pay him, like 3 years, $21 million in restricted free agency when literally nobody could fetch any money at all. Cam Thomas averaged like 20 points per game, couldn't even get a deal, couldn't even get an offer out there, and all of a sudden, Isaiah Jackson could sign for $21 million over 3 years.
Yeah, and it's like we have been very complimentary of this front office. I mean, you told Chad Buchanan and Ted Wu, I love Jay Huff, Diamond in the Huff. Like you're going all in.
Yeah.
When they miss, I think we have to hold them accountable. I mean, I just think the way they have handled this whole entire center spot in the offseason, they've kind of fumbled the bag, Foch. I mean, they mishandled the Miles Turner negotiations. Yes. I don't care what they want to tell us and what's going on. I think they mishandled it. They didn't think Milwaukee was going to swoop in. They did. They got blindsided. To cover up that, you go and get Jay Huff Like, okay, like they were going to bring Miles back, and they were gonna obviously bring back Ijax, and I think they were gonna keep Tony Bradley. I think that was gonna be their three centers. And then they had to pivot from Miles. They go get Jay Huff, who their analytics team has liked for a long time, which let's let it play out before we write Jay Huff off. But like, for any people that thought Jay Huff could even be remotely close to what Miles Turner gave you last year, absolute asinine. I mean, we thought that he could provide floor spacing. We thought that maybe it's not the biggest loss if you do let a guy walk, because you don't want to pay Miles Turner a ton of money, like overpay a guy when you know, like, this year is definitely going to be a championship year. Then you got Mathurin to pay and other things like that. So, like, I would prefer to maybe pay Walker and Mathurin long-term than Miles. I get all that, but that wasn't the plan. The plan was to try to still win this year. So I think that while they've definitely had more home runs than strikeouts, I think they kind of struck out this offseason. I think it's been pretty bad, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, from a center position, I just think they just didn't address it. They just didn't. They essentially
like just the Ryan Nimhart stuff too. Like, I'm not trying to.
Man, I mean, look,
2 episodes ago. It's just, to me, it's like, this is a guy, you have a Nimhart in your building. You know how they work.
Exactly.
I don't care how small he is, even if he is 6 foot. Like, this is a guy that could actually be put on a 2-way or on the back of your roster. And like, I hope Cam Jones is really good. I hope Taelon Peter is really good. But like, come on.
I worry about Cam Jones, and like, I don't want this episode to be the whole sky's falling at 3 preseason games. What are we doing?
It does feel doom and gloomy, doesn't it?
It does feel a little. It does. But
I'm
look,
just being real though. I'm just being real. It's just how I feel.
I know. We got to. They didn't do anything in the offseason. Like, essentially, like, Jay Huff was the big pickup. Like, I just feel like that can't be considered a quote a big pickup, big in size. But I mean, that's about it. So I feel like for right now, we're gonna have to let this play out. There's definitely a scenario that we are 1 month into the season, maybe in a couple of weeks, and we go, yeah, we got a big problem. Big problem over here. Center spot, it might be the worst in the NBA. Or, you know what? Or right now we're in trouble. And we'll see what happens. Maybe the Pacers do make a bigger move at the deadline to address this. I just think they didn't rush to be able to make something happen. They do still have Tyrese Halliburton's disabled player exception that they can have some wiggle room with around. See what happens with other potential deals. But I think they wanted to say, you know what? We're not going to panic and do anything that's going to like jeopardize future draft picks or anything of the sort. Let's just like give these guys a chance. And I think with that also definitely says there isn't an over the top sense of urgency to say we are going to do everything in our power to win. It's the let's develop what we have and then take a look at what we need.
Yeah, and I think also they just trust this coaching staff so much to kind of find ways to put these guys in the right spot. And I think that will be the case. It's rough with preseason because I remember last year thinking some stuff, and then you go to the regular season, and it's just different.
Yes.
Which is why I asked Eddie Gill about how do you approach preseason games versus a regular season games. Like, do the guys actually go 100%? Do they go 80%? Like, I know they don't play the entirety of the game. Like, Mathurin doesn't know how to like not play 100% when he's on the court. So it's like, I'm not saying anything like guys are taking their foot off the gas, but like you can tell when someone makes a mistake, like they don't take it as like personal during preseason that have been around for a while. They just kind of like, all right, I got to move on to the next play. Like, let's just go out here, do our job and not get hurt. Like, I think that's kind of everybody's approach to the preseason, especially these guys. But everybody kept talking about chemistry. And I think it's really what it's going to come down to. It's like, who's going to get into the lab and who's going to define what works the best? Because I honestly just like, I have been so, not disgusted, but I've just been so disappointed with the center group. And one thing that we haven't brought up either, but I think it's a massive point, TJ McConnell. I think the absence of TJ McConnell and how he can make life easier for these centers is a big deal. And I think that trying to throw Campaign into the mix and Ray J and Quentin, like, they're okay. They're good at what they do, right? Like, they're fine at what they do, like, whatever, but they're not TJ McConnell, and they're not going to set these guys up for success the way he will, let alone Tyrese obviously not playing. So I just think that should be a major factor for, like, if you want to look at the positive side, like, hey, if TJ's out there with Huff, maybe he's getting better looks because he's able to get into the paint and that kind of thing.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, look, you're talking about you're removing Halliburton and you're removing TJ McConnell, and then you're saying, this team doesn't look as good as they did before. Of course they don't, and they won't. And that's the thing is like when TJ McConnell comes back, there is going to be this newfound appreciation for him of like, wow, like this is the guy that has been written off so many times. Like, I love him. It's great. The Pacers offense is clicking. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff like that just because, said before, look, Nembhard stepping into a brand new role. And I think we haven't seen, there's only so much you could see in preseason when you're not playing like full games or anything of the sort. And you're playing, 15 minutes or 20 minutes in a night. Like, it's hard to get the full picture. But I do think that, there's going to be a newfound appreciation for McConnell when he comes back. Everyone's going to look a little bit better. And I think for Halliburton, everyone will look even better next year. So we got to give it time. But right now, I think this is probably that ugliness of like, there is no Ben Shepherd. There is no TJ McConnell. Obviously, there's no Halliburton. The starters only play a little bit. Like, this is not going to be the bigger picture, real deal come regular season.
Okay, my last question for you before we kind of wrap this up here on today's episode. The Pacers did not really look to make a significant trade for the center spot, and I don't think we need to get into like the big names like the Bams and the Jaren Jackson Jr.'s and whatever, but like they obviously looked at DeAndre Ayton. There was a lot of rumors around that they wanted somebody like that, and I think even a DeAndre Ayton level player would just drastically change his center spot, like his depth. Like he's just that much more talented than who the Pacers have currently on the roster, but do you think it would be wise of the Pacers to at least look at some potential deals with centers across the league if there's a team that maybe is a little bit deep there? Like the team that we always go back to, it's the Portland Trailblazers. I mean,
always Portland.
But they've got
centers for years.
Yeah, I mean, they've got quite a few centers out there right now, and it looks like they might be able to part with one or two of them.
Yeah, I just think that if you're the Pacers, you're like, no matter what, you're just not making a deal. You don't want to panic. I think that's their thing is they've always said, we're not going to make a deal just to make a deal. They want to see how this plays out. And I think that like 3 preseason games isn't letting it play out. I think it's like I think like even Chad's come on our show and said, let's evaluate this team in January. I feel like they have that type of mindset of like, let's get to the new year and then, to take a look at some stuff. So have they made trades earlier on? Yes. I remember when they traded Victor Oladipo and for, Caris LeVert and things like that. That was a trade that happened just a little after the regular season started. So they have made moves before earlier, but in my opinion, I don't think they're going to hit the panic button until probably about, the new year before making any type of deal.
25 games is usually what I like to use as kind of like a threshold of like, okay, this is a large enough sample size to kind of get an idea of what this team is. And that's pretty close to that December 15th spot when everybody can become tradable in the league. But like, I just look at that. What's the guy's name out in Portland? Young Hansen, is that his name? The Chinese or the Asian?
I don't want to.
Hansen.
Yeah, it's something of the sort.
I think that's what it is. I'm going off top of head.
They love him. They love him. He's obviously going to be. I saw like apparently viewership. China tuning in for his preseason games just had it like off the charts. If that guy pans out, he's going to be great for the NBA.
Yeah, and like Donovan Klingen's out there, and Robert Williams III out there, and my guy
Duop contract
is out there. Like, I mean, even a guy like Duop Reith to me would be like an exciting player to bring in because like that dude can do some shooting, some putting the ball on the floor, blocking shots. Like, why not go after somebody like that?
He's got 2 Achilles that don't have a wear and tear on them. At this point, the measuring stick isn't too high. But yeah, though you just mentioned, Duop Reith and Robert Williams expiring contracts that very well could be dealt. And I think that December 15th is always usually that first type of like date on the timeline where then teams start to go, okay, all right, let's take a look now. So I think Indiana will wait. I mean, if we judged them by the first 25 games last year, we would have said this team's absolutely terrible. They were 10-15 through 25 games, and things got better. So Indiana didn't panic last year. They waited till they got healthy. This year, it's more of, as of right now at least, getting McConnell back. And then obviously, hopefully, guys like Furphy and Ben Shepherd are healthier, on the right track. So I think that they're not gonna push anything and get desperate right now.
Yeah, the over under for me, like I think you said earlier, is like 38.5. Maybe that was like an episode or two ago. You said that, and I actually heard Bill Simmons today talk on his over under podcast with Joe House and Zach Lowe, and I think that Vegas has already lowered it down to 36.5 now with the McConnell.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess you do have to account for McConnell. Like that McConnell injury missing a couple of weeks, like it's got to be good for a game or two. Like, so I think that's probably a little bit understandable, but still feels like disrespect because anything under that, it's like anything under that is really like you had a bad season.
Well,
like
disrespect was in full effect from Zach Lowe once again. I mean, he had a lot of nice things to say about the Pacers. He said, I actually wondered to myself, he said, this was a hard one for me to pick. He said, do I think that a group of guys that are just so serious about the way they approach every single game with a super serious coach in Rick Carlisle is going to come out here and lose a bunch of games? He's like, it's hard for me to envision that, but I'm still going to take the under because someone's got to be under in the Eastern Conference if we've got other people going over. But Simmons and House, they both had them at above 500. Like they had them as like a frisky playoff team, play-in team for sure. So like they're a little bit higher on the Pacers than what Vegas was, and definitely what Zach Lowe was. But I mean, John Hollinger just like last week was just like, oh, they're going to be like a 30-win team, and I'm just like, I've never really loved Hollinger's takes on everything. Like, I mean, he's got some good takes, but like he made the trade machine. That was the first person to ever make it.
That was,
and they still
that for years.
They still use his data on ESPN. They haven't updated it, whatever. And it's like, how do you not update this thing? It's been like 15 years old at this point.
Yes.
But that to me is just like, okay, I'm just trying to like not be a fanboy, but like there are some questions here.
There is
this team, and I just think to me like the McConnell injury did kind of make me feel a little bit less excited about what this team could actually be this year because he
took some
did
wind
so
out.
much.
It really did take some wind out the sails. Where like I do have friends that are like, "Oh man, give me a tough year without Halliburton," and I'm like, "It's gonna be different. We got to figure it out." Like, it's putting it that way. I don't want to be like, "Yeah, man, we're in real trouble," but it's like, yeah, it's gonna be different. There's going to be some lows. I don't think that we're gonna be just ripping off wins left and right. It's gonna be scratching and clawing and fighting. And you know what? Like maybe finishing the season above 500 is a somewhat successful season given the situation, but we'll have to wait and see that. ESPN just came out with an article recently where they talked about like what to bet for the over-under totals, and they basically have the Pacers at 38.5. That by their win model, they have the projected wins 45.9. And they have the Pacers winning about 46 games. It just shows this is all over the place.
Who had that?
That's what ESPN says. 46 wins for the Pacers would be a very strong regular season given the situation when this team won 50 games last year when they were healthy.
Was this the Kevin Pelton article?
This is, I'm scrolling back. This was indeed the Kevin Pelton article. Never mind. This is about a week old. So
this is his metrics. This is his metrics of what he plugs into his little thing to come up with like his analytics. He does it every year, but the McConnell stuff does matter.
It does.
I don't think it matters 10 wins. Like
no, it doesn't. But if they're
46 seems really high.
That's what I'm saying. If they're saying 46 and you got the McConnell injury, okay, I could say 43. Something like you're still above 500. So I feel like at this point, hey, we're not going to call that a success because we've achieved success. We're not the Charlotte Hornets out here or something like this. But I do think that, guys,
there's we got so many worse teams than the Hornets, but you just won't ever call the Wizards out.
The Charlotte Hornets are a team that have never won anything. I know the Wizards haven't won over here, but like they're not. Charlotte has never won anything.
Fair point.
Yeah. It's like in all of sports, they're probably like in very, very elite territory of teams that have never won anything.
So we should actually be rooting for the Hornets to do something that the Pacers can't.
I don't care about the Hornets. They're on their own. They're on their own. They got to fight.
A lot of people care about the Charlotte Hornets.
I got enough battles to fight on my own. Rooting for my teams.
Oh yeah, the Mets.
The Mets blew it. They like historically had like one of the highest payrolls ever, and then just didn't even make the playoffs after having the top record in the regular season at one point. I got the Pacers, that I'm dealing with. It's just there's a lot going on. I can't root for the Hornets.
And I will say we are recording this on a Wednesday night, so if you're like, guys, why haven't you talked about starting five that came out? We haven't watched it yet. So
yep.
There was some really cool moments though from that where they talked. Yeah. They showed Tyree showed a trailer of like Reggie talking and like getting interviewed, and then of course they put out the 5-minute trailer today for the first episode. Like the first episode starts with Halliburton tearing his Achilles. So it's like that's how you started out. Like rip the Band-Aid off. Okay. So it's interesting. I think all the personalities on there are pretty fascinating to me. It feels
Yeah.
like Jaylen Brown and James Harden are kind of quiet compared to the other three.
Yeah.
I'm really more intrigued just to see Tyrese and Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant's one of the most interesting people in sports just because he just has no filter.
Yeah. No, it's
So
true.
I'm looking forward to starting
Authentic.
5, and I probably have already watched it at this point if you're listening to this on a Friday. But if you haven't checked it out, it's on Netflix. You can check out all 8 episodes that are on there. It's not releasing one per week. They're going to drop them all at once. So, watch it as much as you want, watch it as little as you want. I mean, it's up to you. But if you're watching anything, make sure you're watching this episode of Setting the Pace, where you can subscribe to our channel here. Hit the thumbs up button. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. But Facci, any final words before we sign off?
No, I just want to say, hey, look, let's get through this preseason. Let's finish it up. Our questions will not all be fully answered until the regular season, but guys, bear with us. It's going to be a long year, but not in terms of like, hey, we're dropping games left and right. It's just like, it's going to be a roller coaster. I think that's the best way to sum it up. There's going to be the highs. There's going to be the lows. Stay with this team. You can never jump off the ship because they always have a way of when being counted out of just really kind of, getting back up on their feet.
And that is a great way to put it, Facci. Let's go ahead and sign things off. If you're hoping the Pacers can finish out the preseason healthy and better prepared for the regular season against the Spurs tonight, hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go, Pacers.
Setting the pace, going to the top. Setting the pace, going to the top. This is your #1 podcast. Sweeping every team. We gon' need a mop. Smooth.
David.